We're concerned about developing this planet so it's safe for our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, and all the plants and animals that are going into the future. And more than that, people need love. Spirituality is everybody's natural connection with the wonder and energy of life. Full stop. That's all it is. It's everybody's natural connection. And if you want to add on to it, a little bit would add on, and the instinct to explore it. And if you want to add on to that at all, the instinct to explore it in order to suss out how to live your life. My story is partly your story as well. So I'm born after the war. I'm born into parents who are agnostic, hostile to religion, hostile to spirituality. They were just packing together. They're free thinkers, a little bit left-wing. They're London types, and I was brought up in the middle of that. And in the middle of that, early on, out playing with kids in the garden, 4 or 5 years old, looking at the blue sky, just going, "That must be the eye of God." Yeah, very basic stuff that children do. Nothing unusual about that, nothing special. Kids have always got little things happening in the grass and their imagination is big. And so I was doing, well, the eyes, that's, you know, it's just normal that there's something special about life. It's simple as that. Yeah, you with me? But I'm going, I go to a school where there's prayers every morning. And the person doing the prayers is like self-evidently a bit of a prat. You know, it's just like totally obvious that the prayers are different from who he is as a person. And I know that because he's a teacher who bullies and canes. So there's immediately, for me, there's an incongruence between, there's something special and his religion, which is not the same. So I understand where my parents are at, but I'm also having my own private experience of something special. But I can't open it up as a conversation with my parents because they don't know how, they just wouldn't engage in the conversation. Plus in the park there was like, I'm playing on trees and the trees obviously have some kind of life in them. And if I say to my mum, these trees are alive, she's really kind to me. But there's this kind of, and it's not her being put downish, it's culture being put down. She's saying, yes, of course, darling. The tree is alive. Yeah, it's self-evidently alive. It's got, you know, it's alive. But I've got my parents saying, no, it's not alive. And my dad's a psychiatrist, and my mother's a journalist and psychologist. Right? So I'm brought up in the middle of this strange world where I've simply got my experience of life, but in school and at home, I'm not getting any indication that my experience of life matches what the curricula at school, even the religious curriculum, or my parents' curriculum, it doesn't acknowledge it, it doesn't include it. Now, I'm lucky, or I'm not lucky, I belong to a generation, all of us do, where it actually started in 1800, maybe earlier, but we're living, last century was a century where wherever you were living on the planet, if you were living somewhere that you were getting schooled and there were libraries and all the rest of it, you started to hear about spiritual traditions from other parts of the world. So slipping into London in the 50s and the 60s is meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, not even on the map yet. That doesn't start coming until the 70s. Those of you who are as old as I may remember. There's maybe one practitioner somewhere and they're very mysterious. In London there was only one bookshop. Well, there were 2 bookshops, but they were selling books to do with alternative approaches to spirituality. There was Watkins and Cecil Ford, and there was an old one in Museum Street, and you went in there as a kind, it was like being gay and going into a gay bookshop before the gay movement came out. It was like being black and proud of it, and living in a racist society. You kind of slip into this magic shop, and anyway, so I'm part of we're part of a generation where, for the first time in recorded history, at any rate, individuals who self-educate, individuals who are interested in inquiring into what life is about and what is this magic about? And what is this suffering about? Why are we screwing up so badly when it's all so magic? When we're interested in inquiring into that, we're just about the first generation that has all the different philosophical and spiritual traditions, religious traditions out there on the plate for us to study. And all kinds of things that come out of the closet, because you need to remember, for example, that yoga or Tai Chi, Qigong, they were not taught in explicit classes in the Far East. They were taught one-to-one. The teacher chose the students and then taught them one-to-one. So there's been a mass movement that has taken all these traditions that were previously isolated geographically or held onto by the teachers and just shared in particular schools. In the West, a lot of the traditional stuff was taught in secret schools, because if you did something that was outside the remit of the church, you were liable to be burnt or imprisoned or attacked for heresy. And it was not much different in Jewish communities or Muslim communities either. Heretics were dealt with very severely, just as they still are today in Iran. You know, like the guys who've been voting recently, some of them have had their fingers cut off for daring to do something that some Islamists. Anyway, so our generation, starting mainly after the war, has had the incredible privilege of being the first generation that's open to being able to receive and research into this huge, like when people are being rude about it, they call it the supermarket. They call it the spiritual supermarket. People in traditional faith communities look at this huge array that's now there for us to see. All the religions of East and Africa and the Americas, all the shamanic traditions, all the secret temple traditions, all the embodied traditions of movement, all the traditions to do with chant and song, all the traditions to do with eco-spirituality, all the traditions to do with goddess and feminist spirituality and female spirituality, and tantra and all the rest of it. They're out there now. Go back to the 30s, zilch. This stuff is out there for us now, and huge amounts of it are to do with healthcare. So if you're doing a lot of Eastern spirituality or shamanic spirituality or some of the esoteric traditions inside Judaism and Christianity and Islam, the connection between spiritual connection and healthcare is absolutely explicit. There's no difference between connecting with the wonder and energy of life and being healthy. They're one and the same thing. In order to be healthy, you need to be connected with the energy and flow of life. Being connected with the energy and flow of life with the prana, the benevolent chi, is the same as being connected with spirit, or source, or whatever you call it. Now, we're at a moment in our cultural history in the West where there are huge numbers of people, hundreds of thousands, in healthcare, professional care, healthcare, social services, education, human resources, coaching, leadership, and just ordinary good people who have twigged in one way or another that they have their own personal spirituality. And by that, we're simply talking about that we privately know that there's me, there's you, and we have a connection with the wonder. And you don't need the church, the synagogue, the temple, the initiation, the gateway, the purification to have that connection. It just is. A little blade of grass, it is. Yeah, do you understand what I'm saying? However, some of us and a lot of us still like to be in particular schools or traditions or taste around the different ways of doing that because it helps us deepen our connection, helps us reflect on it. Yeah? Now we're at a point, this is what posed the question in the first place. Hello? So we're at a point where, in my opinion, I'm always very opinionated, but I then listen and change my opinions. In my opinion, we are at a perfect moment in UK social history for the kind of spirituality, if that's the right word, to be integrated into mainstream education into RE, personal social health education, and citizenship, integrate the kind of stuff we're into the mainstream, because there are hundreds of thousands of us in there. Now, we developed, in a project I'm part of, we developed a definition of spirituality that worked from stuff that's already in the NHS and in Ofsted, that's the educational overlord for UK English education. And the definition was dead simple. Spirituality is everybody's natural connection with the wonder and energy of life. Full stop. That's all it is. It's everybody's natural connection. And if you want to add on to it, a little bit we'd add on, and the instinct to explore it. And if you want to add on to that at all, the instinct to explore it in order to suss out how to live your life for some meaning. But in the first place, it starts with something that's completely natural. So I mean, there's one very famous paper by a contemporary professor of religious studies, studying all the different ways that religion and spirituality are now described, and he said he finally got it. He's writing this paper, he finally gets it. It's just about being alive, properly alive, connected, and understanding that wherever you are, whether it's at home in your relationships or in society or working in the school or wherever it is, the moment you freeze up or take the material constraints or the stimulation over seriously, you disconnect. Physical bad health. You go into physical bad health as well. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole story, but I'm going to shorthand a bit of it. There's a body called the Interfaith Body of the United Kingdom, and this interfaith body is a forum where the traditional faiths meet and talk to each other. And this is a government-funded forum which listens. There are gateways through to Whitehall in this particular forum. It's part of Whitehall. And when it comes to community building, race relations, religious studies, all kinds of issues, the Interfaith Forum is listened to. That Interfaith Forum at the moment consists only of the representatives of the major faiths. And the major faiths are limited to either 5 or 7 or 9. Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Sikhs, Hindus, Buddhists, Baha'i. And when the Pagans Federation, for example, comes knocking at the door to sit at the central table, it's shock horror for several reasons that I don't even have to go into. But one of the reasons is, that I do have to just name, is if we open the door to them, who else is then going to come into the table? This is overwhelming. So we trial ran, and we've been successful in Interfaith Wales in creating what we call a holistic alliance, in which all the different, and we're using political language now because this is partly a political issue. Because I'm now moving from personal experience of the wonder and energy of life and the flow to getting that into how kids are taught religious studies and healthcare. About how to get that into how social workers and carers use that for building up their own resources so they're better practitioners in the field. Do you follow what I'm saying? So for those of you who are not into the politics of it, forgive me, go away. This is about politics. Because I really, really think that all that, those diverse traditions which I'm talking about that we all know about today, you put them together, they have something to, we have something to say that's hugely useful for education, health services, community building and all the rest of it. But we haven't got a voice. And one of the ways of getting a voice is, for example, not the only way, but one of the routes, for example, is to get a seat at the interfaith table. And we achieved this in Wales associated with the Welsh Assembly under the guise of Holistic Spiritual Alliance, representing unrepresented spiritualities. The issue is the language. The issue is the language. Now, inside the interfaith meetings, where people already have some kind of religious practice, there's language is not so difficult, so they can hear the definition. Spirituality is natural connection with the wonder and energy of life, and the instinct to explore it. And if you want to look at, well, what does someone who's into spirituality do then? Well, one of the things they do is every day, in their own way, they connect with the wonder and energy of life. It doesn't matter how you do it, it's just a matter of doing it, right? And then usually we pack in as well, usually people who are seriously into this also do some form of self-management, some sort of reflection, self-guidance, to just help guide their development, lifelong learning. That's usually part of the package as well. And what's usually part of the package as well, at which point the main faith traditionalists really breathe a huge sigh of relief when you say, we also have morality. Yeah, we're into service. Because for a lot of religions, that's the main thing they do, is they guide people into doing good rather than bad. And when they say, how can you be into service and morality when you've got all these different religions and you've got no roots and all the rest of it, I now have a stock answer, which is, you do not have the cheek to accuse us of having no morality. We absolutely respect the core moralities of all the faith traditions. The essence, do no harm, do not kill, do not thieve. We absolutely respect that. But instead of seeing them in competition, we clap them together to make something stronger. And more than that, we also include in that a green and sustainable ethic, because we're concerned about developing this planet so it's safe for our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, and all the plants and animals that are going into the future. And more than that, the moral plat also includes the psychological understanding that people need love. Children, babies, teenagers, adults need love in order to grow and develop. And if they don't get cared for, they become dangerous. Which says, well, actually, there are hundreds and thousands and millions of us in one way or another, but we simply haven't self-identified. And then the thing crops up. In talking to our families, our friends, our colleagues, where the conversation starts with, you know that connecting with the wonder of life, what's the right language to talk about it? And what I'm doing at the moment is I'm doing a tap dance. Every time I meet somebody, what are you into? I'm into spirituality. What do you mean? You know, and it's immediate tap dance. I'm tapping all over, dancing all over the place until I find a point of connection. And usually it's to do with, when your football team's just won and you're connected, and they go, yes, that's like, that's good for your health. That feeling, that sensation when everything's mellow and it's the 10th day of your holiday and you're just connected with life and you know that life is valuable. That's what we're talking about. But there's an immediate hurdle of language. Now, in a conversation earlier today, and I'm about to segue into handing over to the group, in the conversation earlier today, somebody said, it's something I've heard quite a lot of times, somebody said, compassion. Compassion is a word that works for people. It really, really does work well for people. But, although compassion is a great word for bringing people in, and is to do with heartfelt service and outreach, it doesn't actually catch the wonder of the blade of grass and the sunshine and the light and just being alive. So it's about a third of it. You understand what I'm saying? It's about a third of it. So that's why the thing was, so maybe if I listen to you, I can get some help in developing this project about what is the language that works. What language have you found that you can use that works?
I was right the other side, but the Bible.